loves, my name is Paige, this is Pages with Paige, and today we're going to be doing my June wrap up. Nearly forgot what month we were in. So in the month of June we had Not Safe for Workathon, Whateverathon and Camp Seasonathon as the three main readathons that I was participating in, and I completed most of it. The only thing I didn't manage to complete was for Camp Seasonathon was reading the group book. So out of all of the prompts and all the things, the 14 books that I read covered so much stuff, and I was very, very happy with what I read. Also, I should apologize, I have not had a voice for the past 10 days, which is why you didn't see this earlier. So if I have a range of octaves, that's just what we're going with. I also intend on filming 3 other videos, including my entire TBR soon. So fingers crossed that that goes okay. So for my statistics, I read 14 books, which totaled to 4,292 pages, which equated to reading 143 pages per day and 306 pages per book. My average rating was a 4.29, and I'm so sad that this would have been so much higher if it wasn't for one particular book. For genres, I read 1 anthology, 1 contemporary, 1 erotic, 7 fantasy, 1 horror, 2 romance, and a sci-fi. For format, I read or listened to 1 audio, had 1 physical book, 3 ebooks, and 9 physical audiobook combinations. For age range, I had 8 adult, 4 YA, and 2 middle grade. For my ratings, I had 5 5 stars, 4 4.5 stars, 3 4 stars, 1 3.5 star, and 1 1.5. For standalones, I had 3. For series that I started was 5. 3 of those are up to date, so only the first book is out. For series continuations, I had 4, and I finished 2 series. I'm so happy. My big book was Shadow of Night, which was 630 pages, and my smallest was the Tea Dragon Festival, which was 134. My listening hours were 34 hours. For publication date, I had 2 between 2006 and 2010, 2 between 2011 and 2015, 4 between 2016 to 2020, 2 2021 releases, and 4 2022 releases. So I had a brilliant month. The first book that I read was Fairy Tale Volume 9 by Hiro Mishima. I just have a lot of fun with this. This is Volume 1. I only own the first 3, and the rest I read digitally, but I had a lot of fun with Volume 9. These characters just are a lot of fun. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's not trying to be the next best thing. It's just playing on a lot of common tropes and having a blast with it. So it is very overly sexualized, but I find it quite amusing. Then I read Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness, and I gave this a 4.5. For me, I think it was more the historical aspect, where we're dealing with a lot of historical figures that if you're in the know, you know. But if you're not in the know, you don't know. And so for me, it was just a lot of names, a lot of name dropping. I could appreciate having the discussion with Amy just how eloquently that Deborah Harkness was including it, but because I didn't know who the fuck these people were, it made me a little bit more disconnected from the book, as whereas the first lot, it was all just fresh characters and they were a lot of fun to sort of get to know, whereas this lot of characters, I didn't like them as much, and so that's why I gave it a 4.5 instead of a 5 star, but I still absolutely love their dynamic and the main characters in this. Then I read A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, and I gave this 5 stars. I am so happy I finally picked this up, and I cannot wait to get to the sequel, which is coming out in July. This is following the adorable non-binary T-Monk and a hilarious robot, and it's just so wholesome. It deals with a lot of topics. They mention pronouns and their choice in pronouns, and it was brilliantly done. Becky Chambers writes like it's coming home, and you just instantly fall in love with these characters, and I just love everything about it. So I can't wait to finish off the duology ASAP. Next up, I read Gallant for Whateverathon, and I gave this a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was very atmospheric. I can understand why a lot of people didn't like it, but I just went in and it really delivered in a lot of areas that I was wanting, like just going in for the vibes and enjoying that ride. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I think there was a rather unique narrative behind it, and I feel like the elements of it were really interesting, and I'm always curious with like death and destruction and all of that, so I don't want to say too much in case of spoilers, but I just really enjoyed how it was delivered. But can understand that it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Next up, I read Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and I gave this 5 fucking stars. Holy shit, my tits. This is brilliant. I had so much fun. I adore both of these characters with my entire heart and soul. My little bi heart was absolutely thrilled to exist. I want both of them. Just holy shit, Delilah Green is definitely my type. It was great. I had so much fun. The sex scenes were perfection. Everything about this was great, and I cannot wait to continue on with the rest of the series and see how the other characters come into play and just spend more time with these characters, because like Claire and Delilah have my entire heart and being. Claire is also a single mum and deals with the dynamics of having the father figure around, but he has let them down in the past before, so I found that really interesting, and it's just, oh, so good. There were a few quotes that I just like, oh, my soul, I just want to give them a hug. So I loved it. I loved it so much. I apologize, I'm also keeping this short and sweet because my voice is already dying. Next up, I read Not My Type by Evie Mitchell, and I gave this a 4 stars. Again, it was really cute. I had a lot of fun with it. The scenes were rather nice. Their initial introduction at the Shinigami, at the rope course, was very interesting, and the way that his dynamic and flirting with her was hilarious. He's just not my type because he is a very much alpha male, and no. So it was interesting looking at it from a different perspective and enjoying it in that regard, but I feel like it was a little bit rushed in the sense that their dynamic was good, but he was very pushy and very arrogant, and I was just like, I feel like you can do better. Next up, I read Room by Emma Donoghue, and this was for my Advent challenge. So for that, I have my Advent challenge here, and it's just this one down the bottom. So there we go. Oh, I'm so excited. I love sticking these off. That was my Advent challenge, and this was recommended to me by Wit from Wit and Wisdom, and holy shit, I gave this a 4.5. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat. I binged my way through this because it was just so captivating. I found that a lot of the scenes were uncomfortable, and intentionally so, and their integration back into society was very interesting to see how that progresses. I think having the narrative choice of it being from the child was super interesting, and there were just elements of it that I was like, is this really necessary? Is this the discussion that we're going to choose to have when you're focusing on so many other really in-depth, important things? You're going to make a stigma. So that was why I gave it a 4.5 instead of a full 5 stars, but this is absolutely brilliant. It's masterfully crafted. I was so uncomfortable the entire time, but holy shit, it's so good. Next up, I read Misrule by Heather Walter, and I gave this a 4.5. This is a conclusion to the Malice duology, and Malice was my favorite book of last year, and I loved this, but there was just, what I loved most about Malice was Aurora's and hers angst and their desire to be together, and that wasn't as prevalent in this. It is more building the world on after the ending of Malice, so I felt that the thing that I loved the most wasn't at the forefront, and so that is the only reason that it wasn't 5 stars, because I had that little bit of disconnect. But I still adore these characters with my entire heart and soul. The world is so fascinating, and it's very curious to see how it progressed, exploring the different magic system as well. So don't want to say too much as it is the next. Then I read The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert and gave this 5 stars. This was brilliant. I understand that this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but yes. Also, I was misled into believing that because he has 2 eggplants, that those 2 eggplants are going to be used at the same time. Yes. So very interesting how sex works in this world, and I'm here for it. I love Katie Roberts' cinnamon roll characters that have to be hard on the outside but then they're soft and squishy on the inside. I just fucking love it. I eat this shit up. So considering how short it is, I am so excited for the next 2 books in the series that are coming out this year, and I need it. I need it in my life because monster smut is shit that I'm here for. And then, so in my TBR, which I pre-filmed before I had even read Not My Type, I said that I was going to DNF 50 Shades Free. I didn't. Yeah, so the pink are red flags. The light purple are anytime she mentions her inner goddess or subconscious. The yellow is anytime someone mentions their bottom lip and or bites it. The dark purple are ones that are just like not red flags, but they're still concerning. And then the orange are my sex and other cringeworthy descriptions. I did this, I gave it a 1.5. Higher than the second because holy shit, they learned to communicate at the end. Who would have fucking thought? So literally like 50 pages from the end, they finally figure out what the fuck open communication is, and that is reciprocal, and that you can be open. You don't have to be a dumb fuck. Fuck! That's a revelation. For anyone that gets my copies, I apologize because I did scribble the shit out of this, but yeah, I hope that they find it as entertaining, as cathartic as I found it, calling him a dumb fuck for majority of the book. I think also because Anastasia herself is also a dumb fuck, so it's just, there's a whole lot of toxicity, but it was better than the second one because they actually grew up. Fuck. Next up, I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire, and I gave this a 4.5. I am very hesitant on the series. I don't know why I keep not picking it up, because when I do read them, I really enjoy them. This is following Jack and Jill and acts as the prequel to Every Heart a Doorway. I do believe after reading this, I would feel comfortable in saying that you can read this one before you read Every Heart a Doorway. So if you do want to start with Down Among the Sticks and Bones, go for it. I think it sets up for Every Heart nicely and provides more context. I'm still unsure about how I'm going to feel of the series overall because they are just quick little snippets, but I have fun when I read them and I really love it. So I think it's because it follows different characters. It's not necessarily sticking with the same characters, and I like the characters that we've met, so I'm worried I'm not going to like the other ones. I really enjoyed this, and it was really dark and twisty, and I love it. Next up, I read Vampires Never Get Old, edited by Zordea Cordova and Natalie C. Parker, and has a variety of authors. Overall, I'm giving this a 3.5. I think it's just an anthology that didn't work for me. A lot of the stories and the commentary were fascinating, but they weren't the most engaging. They were short, but they felt super long, and I think it could have just been done a little bit better, but I still had a good time with it. There were some stories that I absolutely love and no story that I absolutely hated, but most of it was just mediocre. So 3.5, still happy with that. This fulfills my Advent Challenge prompt from Gavin to have the letters of my first name page in the title. So Vampires has the P-A-I-E and Get has the G. So let's mark that off. That one, got my other corgi butt. I love corgi butts, they're so cute. And there we go. So I'm really not reading them strategically to actually get a fucking bingo, but that's okay. So after 50 Shades and the anthology, I was feeling a little bit slumpy, so I decided to pick up the Tea Dragon Festival by Kay O'Neill. Holy fuck, I love this so much. Tea Dragons are my shit. I gave this 5 stars. It's absolute perfection. I know that a lot of people don't find Festival as enjoyable because it doesn't focus as much on the Tea Dragons. It's more focused on the plot and developing the history of the characters, but I loved it. This was just everything. It's cozy, it's wholesome, it's what I needed, and it was just perfect for the moment. And then I read The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this graphic novel. I think it was very sweet. I'm very keen to continue on with the series, and I think it's just going to be a good time. I like the exploration of gender roles and of boys, female and male magic, and how the consequences of not letting someone be their authentic self really comes back in a negative way. I'm curious to see where the next 2 go, because I do believe it is a trilogy, but I'm definitely keen, and it was just really cute. So that was the last thing that I read for the month. So this plus a 630 page chonker plus a couple of extras made up what I read in June, and I'm very proud that my reading mojo is back. I apologize for the lack of actual coherent thoughts. I'm still not 100% and I'm tired. So let me know in the comments, what was your favorite read of June? Is there something that just screams out happiness and joy to you? Did you read all the LGBT things for Pride Month? Because I definitely made a conscious effort to pick up as many as I could. If you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!